Good afternoon. I'm coming for one purpose tonight, and that is to introduce to you our deacons. We are so excited for this series of Just Meet Our Deacons. It gives the family of First Baptist an opportunity to put a kind of a name and a face together and what their job is and how they are here to serve you. And so we are very excited for that. I pray that it will be a blessing for you. And tonight you're going to be hearing from Greg Morgan and Greg France. And they are our chairman and co-chairman, respectfully. And so, without further ado, let's meet them. Hey, good evening. As I told you last week, we're going to start meeting some deacons. And so I want to give you an opportunity to meet who they are, what they stand for. Today I've got Greg France, who is the chairman of our deacon board here at First Baptist, and I've got Greg Morgan, who is the vice chairman or co-chairman of the deacon board. And it's pretty neat that Greg Morgan is actually our family's deacon. And so you may hear a little bit about what that means to me and my family to know that someone is serving us and praying for us. And so without further ado, let's introduce you to tonight's guest. All right, so I know this is a good-looking crew here.
It is.
But faces that you probably know and probably have seen here. Greg France, we're going to start with you. If you could just share with the church maybe a brief testimony of your salvation experiences.
I got saved in the old sanctuary. I never will forget it. I was 9 years old, sitting in the exact spot that the family sat in for many, many years. And like many people, you hear the saying, well, if you just play one more song or one more verse, I'll go down there. I didn't go down there. But I remember we were leaving the church and we got to the car. I told my dad, I said, you got to go back and get that preacher. I don't care what you got to do, but get him out here. And I gave my life over to the Lord in the back seat of that car in the same parking spot that we parked in for many years after.
Amen.
So that sanctuary has been a big part of my life. I got saved there, baptized there. I got married there, and I was ordained in that sanctuary as well.
Amen.
Very good. Greg Morgan, kind of the same thing.
And back, some of you guys may remember when we had Sunday school assembly in the Baptist church, and we were in Sunday school assembly, and Jack Barnhill walked down the Roman road and ended with, if you don't commit your life to Christ, then you're going to die and go to hell. And that's all the convincing I needed. So we, my brother and me, went in room B13 at Johnsonville Baptist Church, and we both got saved, and that's very special to me. Jack has since gone on to be with the Lord, but he'll never know until I get to heaven and hug his neck what that meant to me. It was my eternal salvation started right there.
Let me say this for those that are watching tonight. We are filming this, recording it. It's on Wednesday night. It's before church, and we're going to air this on Sunday night. But I wish you could feel what I feel in this office right now. There's a good spirit in this place, and that's exactly the purpose of letting you meet who these men are, because there's not been a time that I've met with you all that God has not shown up, and I think that's so important to know.
Appreciate it.
Let's start with you, Greg France. How long have you served as a deacon here at the church?
May 2009, so 11 years.
11 years. All right. And so you actually serve as the chairman of the deacons now. And can you just kind of tell them what that means, kind of in your own words? What does that mean?
I was the one that I got
last
voted
man
in.
standing.
It's been a great honor to be. I turned down being the chair a couple of times because I didn't feel I was ready to do that. So many times that I didn't think I was ever going to get asked again. But Harold Taylor asked me to chair, and I felt that I was spiritually ready to do it. And it just means really that I sort of set the agenda. Of course, everybody has input to it. I call the meeting to order, and that's about it. We all work together. I don't think any one person is over any of the others. It's a great group of men. I'm blessed to get to serve with them, and I think we all work together to a very common goal, to further the cause of Christ.
Amen.
Now, I want to interrupt you there for just a minute because I love what you said. Spiritually, I did not think I was ready. And last week, one of the things that I pointed out in Acts chapter 6 is not only find some honest men, but y'all remember this, find some men who are full of the Holy Ghost is what the Bible said. And I love what you said. I wasn't spiritually ready. But then when God showed you that you felt like you were ready, then you stepped up to serve.
Amen.
So what about co-chair? I know you all work together very good. Tell
Well,
us
we're Batman and Robin, and you guys can decide who's who. I look good in the orange a little bit better, maybe, so I'm Robin. The co-chair to me means we're just partners, and it's not just Greg and I; it's the other 11 deacons, Tony, that we're honored to serve alongside. It's a privilege to be a deacon at First Baptist Church and serve with those guys. And I agree with Greg when we say it's just our turn to be in the leadership role, and we would have never taken it had we not felt like that was what God had for us at this time.
Love it. Now, how long have you served I know you served as a deacon prior to here.
I was actually ordained at Roseberry Baptist Church with my good friend Jack Williams. Hey, Jack. And a very special time in my life. I struggled mightily with the decision, reading the qualifications, and couldn't understand how God could use me.
Absolutely.
So I was ordained in '98. Teresa and I moved here to First Baptist Strawberry Plains, our home church now, for 20 years, nearly 20 years. We came in '01, and I went, or Pastor Mike and a couple of them approached me, Clay Carr, Harold, about coming on the deacon board. And I didn't want to be treated any different than anybody else. So I went through the same grueling 85 questions that anybody else would have with Pastor Mike, and really did appreciate that. And one thing about being a deacon here at First Baptist is, and Greg will agree with this with Donna, is without our spouses being our teammates, our ministries are nothing. And so they walk alongside us and help us. It's just a privilege to serve on the deacon board here at First Baptist.
Let me ask you this question. What's your biggest struggle? What would you say your biggest struggle as a deacon is?
That could go a few different ways. I would say, dealing with, you're not going to make everybody happy.
Right.
I mean, some decisions that we make aren't going to be received well by everyone. And that, I think it's human nature to try to make everyone happy. Once you sort of realize that that's just not realistic at times. Some people think one way, some people think another. I think, I know we don't come out of that room ever with a decision that we haven't prayed over.
Amen.
And there's times, some decisions we've dismissed and say, well, we need to pray on this longer. So I think, with that in mind, I really feel that decisions that we made we're seeking God's guidance in doing it.
Amen.
And, you know, right or wrong, mad or not mad, you know, sooner or later somebody's got to pull the trigger. And, you know, that's where it falls on us to do it.
Let me ask you this, and both of you can answer. When the deacons meet to make a decision, what is the foundation of every decision that is made in that room?
Prayer.
Yeah, we pray before we start.
Yeah, we pray. Sometimes I think God might be sitting up there in heaven saying, "Wow, it's you guys again." But there's no decision made in that group, in that body, without bathing it in prayer first. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. No matter how big or small, you know,
right.
the decision is whatever it may be. You know, it deserves to be prayed over. It deserves us seeking God's face and guidance as best we can before we make it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I've loved about being in the deacons meeting is that it started with prayer. There is a devotion that is led by one of the deacons, a biblical devotion to get us in a spirit of worship is how I look at that. And then when we end the deacons meeting, we circle up and pray gathered hands in the middle of the room.
Right.
I think that's very special. Let me ask you this. What does it mean to serve as a deacon? Like when you think I'm a deacon, what does that mean to the Gregs? Let me just put it that way.
The first thought that I would have is that I'm not worthy to be called a deacon. The second thing is it is such a privilege to serve God first by serving others. And I get a big kick out of just talking to people and calling, I never really was much on the social media and stuff, but I like it. And my families may not like it because it kind of aggravate them a little bit. Just, how are you? How you doing? But it's a privilege. I even go past being an honor. It's a privilege to serve the Lord as a deacon. And when you read those qualifications, it's very, very humbling.
Amen. Greg, what would you say?
It's the deacon is a title, but the part that really hits me is that servant part. And we're all called to do that.
Amen.
We are all called to help one another out. If somebody calls you, and in your best of your ability, you can help them.
That's right.
You should help them.
Yeah.
So to me, it's really just a title. It's a huge title, one that I love, and one that is a privilege to be. But we're all servants. We all should be striving to not just get the title, but to do the work.
Amen.
And then the title will come.
Amen.
So I want to close like this. One of the purposes of sitting down with our deacons is because of our ministry called the Deacon Family Ministry. And what that is I'll let you explain to it. Well, let me ask you this question. What is the Deacon Family Ministry to each of you?
Well, we started this ministry at a time when we didn't have a pastor, or we were transitioning. It was really a means for us to help keep track or to check on the folks when they didn't have somebody checking on them. But it sort of, I think, grew from that. I think now it's a lot bigger than it was. And in the last few deacons meetings, we've added many people as they've joined the church. But it gives us a chance to do one thing that I think we should be doing anyway, is build that relationship. And we even discussed this when we first started. At first, people aren't going to want to talk to you. They want to talk to the pastor. They got a problem, they got an issue, they want to talk to the pastor. But I've noticed it now, especially in the past 6 or 8 months, people are more apt to call us now because we have built that relationship with them. And, that's the whole key. Is to build that relationship that they feel comfortable and confident to call us, that we'll pray with them, that we will, get a hold of you, do those things. It's become such a blessing to me. It just like any ministry, it takes a little effort, takes a little work, but just like all the other ministries we do, the blessings you get from them way outweigh the work you put into it. Amen. But you got to do it.
Amen. Amen. Greg, I'd like to hear from you.
Well, the family ministry is a huge part of my life. We were able to be a part of that at Roseberry, and I kind of saw how it worked. I saw Alan Webster, who's one of my mentors, just take a ministry and make it very personal with each of us deacons over there, and he taught me to love people, and that was the kindest, other than my Papa Mayford, probably the kindest man I ever met in my life, and he showed me how to minister to folks, even though they're shut in or they're in the hospital, or I may not see them. They maybe just come, regularly on Christmas and Easter. But it was just such a privilege to be able to get to know folks and minister with them. There was a time in my life, and I'm still very emotional, that I could not pray anywhere, anytime. I couldn't say grace over my food without crying. And the more I prayed with people and thought that was a hindrance, that turned out to be an opportunity.
Amen.
And on mine and Teresa's families on our list are very, very dear to us. We've developed those relationships, and I would hope that each one would call us and let us minister as best we can. In turn, what ends up happening, and Greg alluded to this, is Teresa and I end up being blessed from it. It's just an incredible ministry, and I love that the other men are taking charge of that and being proactive. I love that you encourage us. I love the support that you give us. And so it's just, and I think it's vital. As we continue to grow, you cannot be there for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what we are called to do. I believe you'll find that in the Bible.
So let me ask you this just real quick. I know we have several different churches that's watching. Maybe there's a church that's watching that does not have a deacon family ministry. Just real quick, any advice you could give that deacon of starting that deacon family ministry?
Heck yeah, get started.
Yeah, get started.
Get started.
Do something.
Yeah.
Put the names in a hat, draw them out, and divide them up.
When we first started, we were thinking about doing that, names in a hat, but now it's, well, you know this person or you don't, and sometimes we automatically, well, we know you know that person, so you're not getting them.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong way to do it. We keep a spreadsheet and who's on first and second, and
so was it Nike that just said just
do
it?
I think they did away with that term.
I would say this though, if you're out there and you do want, it may be poor advice, but we certainly are available.
Yeah,
we are. One thing about Batman and Robin here. We are not FBC exclusive. We're shouting Jesus all the way, and we're taking as many people with us as we can.
That's right.
Let me turn this thing around, and we'll get it closed. So I pray that tonight, gave you an opportunity to meet the Gregs, as I call them. And I want to end like this and just tell my story. So Greg Morgan is my family deacon. And every month I get a text from him, I get a call, I got a card on my birthday from him. And those little things like that are so important to let me know, hey, there's somebody in the church, not just because I'm the pastor, but they truly love my family. And I've heard several people say, well, several deacons call me. And so that's it. Maybe you have a relationship with another deacon and you really don't know who your family deacon is. The purpose of this is to make sure that we get that out, and we want you to know who it is. But here's what I'll say. Maybe your deacon hasn't contacted you, or maybe you don't know who that deacon is. I want to tell you that every deacon here is a servant, and I believe that you could call on any deacon. And let me say this is my door behind me. My door is open, and if I can do anything for you, that's what we want to do. And so again, I hope this was a blessing tonight. I hope that you got to know some of our deacons, and I ask that you pray as we try to sit down with each deacon, interview them, and get to just to know each other better as we work toward pressing the gospel here in our community. We love you. Have a great night. What a blessing. I am so thankful again just to sit and watch that video, to hear the heart of these men. And I can't wait over the next few weeks to give you just another opportunity to get to know our deacons. I pray that this has been a blessing for you. I'm going to encourage you that if you have a question, or you've got a comment, or you just want to get to know them better, that you reach out. I'm actually going to put my email on here in just a second. And so if you got a prayer request, or you say, hey, I want to get to know my deacon better, just shoot me an email and I'll forward that to your appropriate deacon. I don't have the list in front of me, so I can't say this person is your deacon or whatever. But we'll get with Greg France. We'll make sure that you know. And the question has been asked, hey, is this person assigned a deacon? And so unfortunately, I got to say this, we have several people who have been visiting, some who have been visiting since I've been the pastor here for over a year now, a year and a half, I guess, and you still haven't taken that step to join our church. Unfortunately, you are not assigned a deacon yet because you are part of our family, but you're not on the membership roll, and so we don't have a record. And just know this, that if we can help you and you haven't joined our family, our door is always open, and we want to get to know you better. And so again, if you're searching, if you're looking, if you need a home church, we sure would love to have you here at First Baptist. I hope tonight's been a blessing for you. I love you. God loves you more. And again, if you need anything at all, just let me know. Until next time, God bless you.